Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is HarrisX founder and CEO, Dritan Nesho. Dritan, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me.
HarrisX has a new poll out on the New York City mayoral race, and the Democratic primary we know back in June was a shock upset for an establishment Democrat, that Democrat being former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Polling in February suggested it was his race to lose, but come end of June, he ended up getting trounced by state assembly members over on Mamdani by 12 points. Cuomo announced this week he is still in the race. He's running as an independent. So is incumbent Mayor Eric Adams. He's also running as an independent. Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels, is running as a Republican. So to start off the conversation, what exactly is the state of the race right now?
Well, the state of the race is that it's a wide open contest. And Democratic primary processes are one thing, but a general election is a different thing. And um, I would say that while Mamdani has the progressive vote and support from the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, Andrew Cuomo is very, very competitive in a general election. And in fact, if you put the two of them head to head in a general election setting, Cuomo wins by 15 points. So in a direct matchup, Cuomo is ahead with independents breaking for him, Republicans breaking for him, and half of Democrats breaking for him. However, in a more open race, a four-way race, if it stands as it is, Mamdani is at 26%. Cuomo is at 23%, so within the margin of error of the poll. Sliva is at 22%, also within the margin of error. Adams is at 13%, so significantly far beyond the three leading contenders who are tied, and about 15% are undecided. So we're just beginning in this process, and I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting events in the lead up to this contest.
That is a really interesting set of numbers there. I have seen some Mamdani critics saying, hey, Cuomo, you had your shot to beat him and you didn't. Now it's time for you to step aside, and Mayor Eric Adams is our best chance. But based on the numbers here, you're saying that's not really so, right? In a head to head matchup, who beats Mamdani by a bigger margin, Cuomo or Adams?
Cuomo beats Mamdani by a significantly higher margin. So, as I mentioned, in a head-to-head matchup, 50% would vote for Cuomo, 35% would vote for Mamdani, and 16% are on the fence, not sure, similar to what we saw in the four-way race. But when you look at Mamdani v. Adams, Mamdani is at 43%, Adams is at 36%, so Mamdani is 7 points ahead, and 21% are unsure. And this makes a lot of sense because Adams' favorabilities after the scandals, the corruption scandals that have come on, is significantly low. Today, 56% have an unfavorable view towards Adams. Only 37% have a favorable view. So that's a delta or net negative of 19 points. When you look at Mamdani, polarizing figure, but he's at 42% favorability, 45% unfavorable, so a net difference of three within the margin of error, and 13% haven't formed their opinion around him. But when you look at Cuomo, Cuomo is at 40% favorable, so a favorability rating that's 5 points higher than Mamdani and 10 points higher than Adams, and 45% unfavorable. And given that he's been the governor, only about 7% say that they've yet to make up their mind on him or form an opinion because he has nearly universal name recognition and awareness within the state. So when you look at the favorability numbers, Cuomo has the best numbers, and that translates into the head-to-head matchup.
And so when you break this down, I know you said that more progressive voters are going for Mamdani, Republicans and independents perhaps are going to Cuomo. Is there anything else that you're seeing trending wise, demographically, one person is breaking more for one group over another?
Well, Mamdani does very well with young voters, and also it's not just the youngest voter demographic, let's say Gen Zers, but it's also millennials who are in their 30s. And these are voters that we know from our polling and previous polling that has been done are very sensitive to affordability related issues, affordability of day to day life, affordability of housing within the city. And again, they constitute Madami's core. Cuomo does much better with older voters and certainly voters that are within 45 to 64-year-olds, so the Gen Xers. 65 plus, it's a little bit more competitive, and I think that that will be an area of focus, or will need to be an area of focus for a Cuomo campaign going forward to consolidate the base. But there's really this generational split that is at play. And again, Cuomo has to hit the right messages with younger voters. And we'll see if Mamdani is able to make any inways or inroads with all their middle age plus voters. I will also say one thing, that in a four race contest, um, Mamdani's support leans more male. He's at 27% male support, whereas Cuomo is at around 20%. Whereas Cuomo does better with female voters, and Cuomo is at about 28, 29% with female voters, tied with Mamdani, and Sleevan Adams obviously have much lower numbers with female voters. So it'll be interesting to also see how, from a gender perspective, each of the candidates are able to make inroads and win votes and pick up traction, both if it is a four-way contest or if it ends up being a smaller two-way or three-way contest.
If I were Mayor Eric Adams, I would be a little concerned if I was looking at this poll and I was seeing the disapproval number that you just laid out. Do voters think then, too, the city's going in the right or wrong direction? Because Mayor Eric Adams has been at the helm now for almost a term and he's trying to run again.
Right. So 59% say the city is on the wrong track. Only 30% say that it's on the right track, and 11% are unsure. So it's a factor of 2 to 1 that basically believe that the city is in the right direction. And that's what's disqualifying Adams. So really the choice boils down between the voters that want experience. And in our previous polling on this contest, Cuomo owns the experience element, and it's being the safer hands for the city. And Mamdani, who obviously is a younger candidate, represents generational change. And so it's really, what kind of a change are you looking for? Are you looking for experience driven change? And the polling indicates that Cuomo owns that theme and that rallying cry, or change which is much more deeply rooted and tectonic. And Mamdani, in his own words, describes himself as a democratic socialist, and has said that we need to privatize the means of production in the city, which is a fairly radical idea, especially in a city that's run by bodegas and the people that employ a good amount of city workers. So it'll be quite interesting to see which way voters choose between um, those two different themes and offerings.
And from the top, you said that this is a wide open race based on these numbers. Is there room, and have voters made up their mind? Is there room for a candidate to be like, I'm Cuomo, but there's a Mamdani voter. I'm gonna try to get them for me. Or I'm Adams, there's a Mamdani voter. I'm gonna try to get them for me. Or are they just trying to pick off the undecideds? I mean, what does that strategy really look like based on these numbers?
Well, again, the key votes in this contest will come from independent voters and Republican voters. voters. And I think it's very important to understand whether or not this will be a four-way contest or whether it will whittle down. If it does whittle down, and let's say that it's a three-way contest without Cuomo, Mamdani wins clearly. He gets 35% of the vote to Sliva's 25% of the vote to Adams' 19%, with about 22% saying that they're undecided and they'd have to make up their mind. And then if Adams drop out, but Cuomo runs, again, it's a very competitive race with Cuomo in the lead at 31%, Mamdani at 29%, and Sliva at 28%. And Cuomo essentially picks up independent voters and a good chunk of undecided voters as he enters. So very different constituencies powering the different campaigns and backing the different campaigns. But one thing is clear: there's no permutation of the horse race that has Adams winning. And if this whittles down to a head-to-head matchup, Cuomo performs the best vis-a-vis Mamdani and winning by 50 points, as we mentioned at the outset. And if it's a three-way race, then again, it's a competitive race, especially if it's Cuomo, Mamdani, and Sliva who are the three candidates.
And what you're hearing from people who are critical of Mamdani and are concerned of his potential leadership is if Cuomo, Sliwa, and Adams all stay in, they are going to split votes and he's going to be the runaway winner. And that's what this poll does suggest. But as of now, if everyone is neck and neck essentially in this poll, how does that not convince everyone to stay in?
Well, I think that this poll suggests that Eric Adams doesn't have a path to win, um, and it suggests a competitive race that hasn't settled yet beyond that. So we'll see what happens, especially as the general election gets geared up and the candidates are able to both reposition themselves for the general and mount their campaigns. But again, as I said, it's clear that Adams doesn't really have a path, and Sliva has the more difficult path out of the remaining three. So really, the choice seems to be emerging between Mamdani and Cuomo, and each has different constituencies supporting them, um, which are energized for different reasons. And again, in the day of the election, turnout matters. Turnout matters a lot. And so that's also the wild factor that's within this race.
Many have said the Democratic primary in this mayor's race are a case study of exactly where the left is wanting to go. And it's seemingly more progressive because Zohran Mamdani really had a runaway victory in that primary in June. There are obviously a few caveats here because New York City is a historically liberal city and this election was in an off year. But you and I have talked just earlier this week of where exactly the Democratic Party is because it's seemingly been a little bit in the wilderness since the 2024 election. So, what do you think? What do you make of this? Do you think this is a case study of where the left wants to go?
Well, our national polling, so not our New York City polling, but our national polling suggests that that is the wrong direction for the left to go. And we've actually asked the question: do you want more left-leaning politicians to lead the Democratic Party, such as AOC and Bernie Sanders? And this was before Mamdani won and was a phenomenon. Or would you like to see more moderate Democratic candidates who are focused on getting things done, compromise, and basically winning a broader array of voters within what is meant to be a Big Tent party, the Democratic Party? Voters overwhelmingly pick the latter, and it's almost two-thirds of them that would say they would prefer to see more moderate rather than progressive or left-leaning Democrats take helm of the party. So if I could use that as evidence, obviously the voice of voters across the country is what determines elections, midterms, and presidential elections. It doesn't seem like going the direction of Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders is the winning path for the Democratic Party.
Well, I know that we are going to have many conversations on this race as it heats up between now and November because it is a race that received international attention. Dritan, thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate our conversations.
Thank you so much. See you soon.